There is no question that the world is more globalized than ever. Nowadays, education is key for any individual's chance at success.
I mean, it's unquestionable that it impacts your life completely. What I think is that if we're without it, our world gets really small.
I think education is important to have a good life because with education you can get a good job and to live a better life.
It is extremely important for people, especially during their childhood, to begin forming themselves for a better future. Here in Colombia, it isn't as equal as it should be compared to other countries.
Our tendency, I think, as human beings is to shrink down to small groups of people. And education prevents you forces you out into the rest of the world.
Due to the lack of education and the lack of government intervention, children and teenagers are very susceptible to committing crimes.
I wouldn't have getting this education when I was younger. Like when I'm older, I cannot get a job and it wouldn't be so easy in my life, and I need to learn many things in life.
And every citizen in the world should have education because with that they have a higher opportunity to succeed, and most people that live in worse conditions than the wealthy can have more opportunities to move forward and have a source of social mobility, and it's just essential to get a good job and hit a good payroll and have a more happy life.
The difference in educational levels seen in private and public schools are becoming more and more obvious. This separation has pushed people to extreme means to find success. Drugs, crime, and poverty are the inevitable consequences of the unequal educational opportunities. Less than 60% of the kids graduate from public schools compared to the 95% of private school kids.
I think more resources should go to public school. I think it's a way for people to move up, to live better, to raise everyone.
They should teach the same materials in private and public schools because it's more fair.
Education should certainly be equal, no matter what social class you belong to.
It's important to raise awareness on education because without education that leads to ending up on the streets.
The other question, the division of education, I think that there should be a basic education that should have a higher quality for everyone that everyone should have, but from that there should be higher educational levels from people that can maybe afford it or pay more.
Like the FARC, the guerrilleros, that happened to them because they didn't have an education, so they had bad influences, so they start to kill people and they sometimes rob and do things that are bad because they don't have an education and they don't know what's right or what's wrong.
And that's what I think is the real problem. And it goes back to the first question you asked. Education is meant to broaden your world. And I think a poor public school and a really rich private school both shrink the world instead of expanding.
The moment we are born, we are granted this equal right to education. We also share the same opportunity to progress in society. Also, we have the right to build a future not only for us, but for the many generations to come in our families.
Sometimes I do worry that schools, elite schools, very expensive schools, put people too far ahead. They put people so far ahead that they don't see anybody behind them anymore.
Now, more than ever, we can see the horrendous impact a lack of education can cause. In 2013, there were more people living on less than $2 a day than there were people standing on this earth 40 years ago. A child's mind is a sponge, absorbing anything that crosses their path. They need the freedom to communicate with others in order to develop their minds for the competitiveness of the future. Education gives kids the opportunity to understand the world around them. It gives them the ability to change the world. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." The youth, imprisoned in poverty, and education is the key to that cell.